Fallout London rules. Is it a perfect replacement for a new Fallout? No. But it's pretty much all you're going to get for the next 5 years. So if you enjoy Fallout, you might as well suck it up and install it. It's easy to do, and the game does offer you enough content that you'll feel you'll get your money's worth, especially considering the fact that it's free. Is it as good as other mods like Pokemon Unbound or the Forgotten City? Not really, but it's so much bigger than that it's just impressive to go through it. There are a lot of people out there who are saying it's the proper follow-up to Fallout New Vegas, and I don't really disagree, but when you compare it to New Vegas, it just looks worse. And not because the devs are bad or because they did a bad job. It's not that. The problem is really that they just bit off more than they can chew. If they trimmed a little fat and focused down just a bit more, it would actually be better than Fallout 4. There are roughly as many major factions in this game as there are in Fallout New Vegas, which sounds amazing on paper. And I can proudly say that none of them are badly written or not thought out. Everything feels good, grounded, and totally Fallout. You got the Monty Python Knights of Camelot, you got skinheads, and you got the Peaky fucking blinders. But after you complete their quests, for the most part, they do nothing, except repeat the same stock phrases that all NPCs repeat.
I'm not lucky to be a farmer. I get mine.
In New Vegas, the various factions had an incredible amount of quests and side stories that either affected their main quest or affected the main story in general, and tons of dialogue that affected you as the player. My best example of this is the NCR spy plot at Fort McHenry. You don't have to do it, and you don't have to join the NCR to complete it, but it adds these really human elements to these faceless factions. The idea that someone could become a traitor to the NCR has a weight to it that just isn't found in Fallout London. And then if you take those faction quests and compare them to the multiple solutions found in Fallout New Vegas for just about every quest, these can feel a little like fetch quests, a little like classic, hey, go clear out that cave quests. But even those things are not simple to accomplish. Game development is fucking hard. I've made a bunch of videos on just how hard that is, with most recently being Fallout 76. And Fallout London is miles better than that game, despite having similar problems. Because in reality, most devs have this problem. Even Helldivers can't really think of a new quest to do other than simply go to that objective, bring something back, input a code. I give major credit to Deep Rock Galactic, who actually imported a new quest type with these cool tubes that change everything from being a simple fetch quest or an exterminate quest to something where you actually have to think and build and feels new. But not every game gets that, and it's really hard to think of something novel, or else it wouldn't be novel. Which brings me to my final point of criticism before I start launching into the praise of this game. The opening sucks. I simply do not care about Mr. Smythe. For context, you start as a lab rat in a tube, clearly been experimented on in the past. You break out of that tube and meet this enigmatic figure who encourages you to come out and find him. And this is a really good opening for a role-playing game because you're just a blank slate. But since you're a blank slate, I just don't give a shit about that guy. I mean, what did he really do to me? I don't know. I just kind of woke up. Compare this to your father abandoning you in Fallout 3, or getting shot in the head in Fallout New Vegas, or having your child stolen and your spouse murdered in Fallout 4. There's just so much more drive in those games to go out into the world and at least get to the bottom of something. Sure, you're gonna get distracted by side quests along the way, and that's part of the plan, but that inciting incident really needs to incite something in you. And this opening doesn't do that. Because the real plot of this game is the fact that the Queen's been missing for an incredibly long amount of time. Only you really won't find out about this until a few hours into the game. If you had told me from the beginning that there's a chance I end up as the King of England, that isn't an inciting incident. I don't want to harp on these things too much despite my enjoyment of criticism, because I truly did love Fallout London. For starters, this game's vibe is perfectly Fallout. And I know that's really weird to say, but when you compare this to something like Fallout 76, Fallout 76 feels more like a spin-off or a mod than Fallout London does. I was expecting a lot more mingling with the Fallout mechanics. Like, I expected there to be a Pip-Boy, I expected there to be a Vault-Boy, I expected the Mirelurks to be called Mirelurks and not Mittenlurks. But the Fallout London team clearly wanted to separate themselves from the USA. They even give you this little fake-out scene in the opening where there's two Pip-Boys, but you go for the thing in the middle, the Attaboy. which does function exactly like a Pip-Boy, but it's different, and I like it. I also really love all of the little perk and quest animations. Those feel exactly like they did in Fallout 4, and add so much flavor to this mod. And speaking of flavor, the factions of this game are just dripping in British lore, with really well-designed costumes and bases that feel ripped out of a mainline game. And I really want to highlight the Thames folk. They're not ghouls. They're this separate new freaky fish guy thing that
I am not a freaky fish guy.
feels right at home in the Fallout universe. And the Thames itself is the best use of radiation I've ever experienced in a Fallout game. It's basically a barrier that prevents the player from leaving the starting zone. And there are several very Fallout ways to make it across. For starters, you can simply go through a raider-infested bridge, or you can take the tunnels through Millwall, which is one of the most cinematic and well-done moments of the game that really just made me turn around and say, I needed the level. I need to get better. I need to engage with the game because I want to keep going. But to be honest, the first way I got across the Thames was by having my Sleepwalker perk. The Sleepwalker perk makes you randomly wake up in places after you take a nap. I was fortunate enough to wake up on the other side of the river, and that feels incredibly Fallout. And then I came across this dog factory that had a wonderful Fallout-like quest where I was tasked with either helping the owners or the workers with multiple different solutions to get to the end of the quest. And personally, I chose the rich guy because money is so hard to come by in this game. And I love that because, again, it forces the player to engage with the systems, to scavenge, to hunt, to build, to craft, all in the hopes that you can get some rataways, so if you accidentally fall in the Thames, you're not fucking dead. Old Blighty itself looks absolutely amazing. I mean, they have all of the London landmarks. Or at least I think all of the London landmarks. I'm really not a London expert. To include a functioning underground system, a ferry system, and a bunch of other things that feel so classically British. Although on that note, I gotta say, cool it with the Doctor Who references, guys. We get it, you're nerds, you like the show, but come on. Which actually brings me to the writing of this game, which is normally fantastic. I really wish there was a bit more voiced lines, but they do have a lot of unique dialogue options based around perks, and yet it never really gets into that deeper territory that Fallout can go into. The territory that Fallout 3 goes into when you think about sacrificing yourself. You're not gonna walk away from this game profoundly changed in any way, and that's fine. Not everything needs to be a life-changing experience. But most importantly, with the writing, the characters, the world, the direction, the gameplay, it all feels like Fallout. This is not some watered-down product. It's easily as good as any of the Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 DLCs, if not better. Actually, in all of the New Vegas DLCs too while we're there. And if they had just a little bit more focus like those DLCs did, I know that they could create something even better than what Bethesda's putting out. Which brings me to my last and final point, and this is something that I feel bad to bring up, but it's something that I need to do, which is the fact that there are so many bugs. There are quests you won't be able to complete because you can't push a button. There are objectives that will fail if you try to do them because friendlies will get hostile at you for no reason. And there are a lot of crashes. Within my first 7 hours of playing, it crashed around 10 times, which is kind of unacceptable. As I played on though, the crashes in the game seemed to stabilize, but still, you gotta save often. My real final thing I want to bring up is the lack of textures. There are some textures in this game that just clearly don't work, and they show up as bright fucking purple, which is really jarring. If they were gray, I'm not sure I would even really notice them, but there's so many things that are legitimately bright purple that it just rips you right out of any immersion. And that's not even talking about the fact that some character outfits just simply don't show up. And I know there are fixes for these things. I know there are patches coming down the line, and I know that not everyone's gameplay experience is going to be exactly the same. But I also know that if you compare this to New Vegas on the PS3, New Vegas on the PS3 actually handled much better. Which is crazy to say because that I think is one of the historically most bugged games of all time. I am hoping that the team at Fallout London can come out with a few patches that stabilize things and especially fix the texture problem, because it will push away potential players. And yet, if you are starving for Fallout content, I wholeheartedly recommend this game. I personally loved it, and it's not just because I'm going through an incredibly difficult time in my life right now, and this game happens to have a bulldog companion who looks almost exactly like the pet I recently lost. That has nothing to do with it. I'm not biased. I just really miss Hank. I'm saying that I love Fallout London because I loved my time with Fallout London, and I will happily play any RPG with this much care and affection put into it. With the game standard here at Tibbs TV, I'm Jonathan Rosenblum.